5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
So I'm a sports journalist and a presenter for Sky Sports News. Worked in production for many years, right the way through to being a presenter. So I've been presenting on Sky Sports News for about 8 years now.
Q1. Last cue, grab next.
It was on the 31st of July 2022. I was told I had cancer. It hit me like a truck. I did wonder, am I going to die? I'd prepared myself for the worst. I think you kind of have to. I actually didn't tell anyone.
Take your time.
Well, it was hard because, I think I don't want to put that on anyone. I almost think if I could have just done it without telling anyone, that would have been better, just because I just didn't want anyone to worry about me. If one person can watch this and they make a phone call to make an appointment with a doctor because of something that they feel isn't right, then it's worth talking about. So many people are affected by cancer, whether directly or indirectly. And I think talking about it, having these conversations, just putting it out there so that people don't feel alone and that there is life after cancer. Football, cancer, and me. My journey began to understand and explore how cancer had impacted other people in the game I love so much. Cancer does affect everyone and comes in different forms. 1 in 2 people will be diagnosed in their lifetime. The first person I spoke to is a Wales international and Premier League regular, David Brooks. I remember being on air when David announced he had cancer. I never thought that 6 months later, I would be facing my own diagnosis. So I went down to the South Coast to talk about how cancer had changed his life. So David, how are you feeling at the moment?
Yeah, to be honest, I feel good. It was a long process after it to try and get back normal and kind of feel back to my usual self. It's obviously a unique situation trying to get back into sports and things like that. 24 years prior to my diagnosis my whole life was football. It was from a young age, how do I get into the 18s and get a scholarship? Then it was, how do I get a pro? How do I get in the first team? Then I moved down to Bournemouth and it was, how do I get in a Premier League team? How do I do this? And then in an instant, just in that moment, obviously when you get told, it's all gone.
David was just 24 when he was diagnosed with Hodgkin lymphoma. At 59 years old, whilst managing Birmingham City, Tony Mowbray received his diagnosis.
Mine was bowel cancer, so it's about my backside, really, and the habits that had changed probably over a month. I had a colonoscopy, so I'm watching the screen, and I'm seeing the camera. Obviously, they're amazing bits of equipment, but it was taking a biopsy. It was snipping away at something in my bowel. I could see it on the screen. And at the end of that experience, the doctor basically straight away said, doesn't look right, it's not sure, we'll have the biopsy, but it looks, unfortunately, like it could be cancer. I've always associated in my life cancer and death, really. I had my amazing, beautiful wife, Bernadette, who was 26-year-old when she passed away from breast cancer when I was a player at Glasgow Celtic. I hear the word cancer and I have to go home and tell my family, basically.
I knew something wasn't right, so I went to get checked up. But yeah, 100% thought that I would just get told, this is a bit of a hangover from giving birth. But yeah, I was told that day that it looked like I could have cancer, which is not something you ever expect you're going to hear. Your life just changes in an instant.
The kind of sheer unexpectedness of it that kind of catches you by surprise. When I went away with Wales, obviously, you kind of do like a bit of a brief when you get there on if you've had any problems, like injury-wise or illness-wise. and kind of just told the doc there that I'd been having some of these symptoms. Within about half an hour, I think the doc had kind of come up and he basically said, like, I just don't want to alarm you, but obviously everything that you've told us is kind of a cancer symptom. And yeah, it was a big shock when you kind of hear that word. You kind of just fear, like, what the end result will be. I was diagnosed fully within probably about 48 hours of letting him know some of my symptoms. So obviously a very scary kind of experience.
Do you remember what went through your head when they first kind of confirmed it? Because I remember I asked 2 questions. I was like, am I going to die? Am I going to lose my hair? That was kind of my first. I'll be honest, that is actually one of the biggest fears that I had. Like, when you hear, oh, like chemo, you kind of, and it sounds bad to say, but everyone that you kind of seen on telly or anything to do with that, you kind of see obviously how they look, and knowing that you're going to look very ill, and obviously your hair's going to fall out. But I think once you kind of get a positive diagnosis, that was probably where my first thought was going, which was definitely wrong, but it's kind of where it went. Everything had changed in that moment, but the weirdest thing was how nothing actually changed for a few weeks, because you have that period of time where you're going for further tests and scans, and they need to work out what kind of cancer it is. They need to come up with a treatment plan. So there was a couple of weeks where I was kind of just living my life as normal, and then I went to a wine festival in Cheltenham that weekend, and I was just like looking around, everyone's having a great time. It's, I love things like that, food and wine festival. I'm sitting there thinking, I've got cancer. It's mad how life just carries on, but at the same time, your whole life has changed and is about to change. Someone else whose life was changed by cancer is former Arsenal man Henri Lansbury, who was playing for Nottingham Forest when he first realised something wasn't right.
So I found a lump on my left testicle, and I had it for probably about 3 months before I actually went and told anyone. It was only before I wanted to go on holiday that I was like, right, I better go and get this checked out just for peace of mind. Phoned up the doctor at the club, and he was like, all right, no problem, just shoot into here. And then shot into there, had a scan, had it tested, and as I was driving home, the club doctor phoned me again to say, oh, can you go back in there, go and pack a bag, you're going to have the operation tonight. And then it dawned on you, like, I hadn't told my girlfriend at the time, my mum, my dad, like, nobody knew about it. And then I'd only called my best mate and said, oh, mate, I've got cancer, I'm going in for an operation tonight. He was like, what? Why didn't you just tell me? So I packed my bag, went, had the operation, and then the next day I was with, well, fake nut and the real nut.
Did it ever cross your mind when you found it, like, this might be cancer?
I didn't really know what it was, and just like I said, the unknown of not knowing what it is, and to have it in the private area as well is like obviously a big deal. It's just mentally challenging to tell someone as a man is my biggest thing now. I'm like, first person you find something, just tell someone. They will help you in some way.
I don't know you that well, and I'm talking to you about your testicles. I'm talking about my cervix, and it is kind of embarrassing, and I remember that kind of held me back a little bit, because I was like, I don't really want someone prodding about up there, or, it's just like, almost, we all just kind of just get over that embarrassment. When they told you that it was cancer, do you remember how you felt?
Probably a bit like this, like a bit like, oh, what? Like, couldn't really believe it, and I think everyone else felt it was a big deal, but I was quite like, I'm quite a jokey person as it is, and I was a bit like, oh, it's all right, like, don't worry, like, I'm fine now. And I think for men to have a laugh about having one nut, just bring something else and just feel like, oh, he's joking about it, so I can have a laugh with it.
Yeah, I mean, I cope with things by having a really dark sense of humour. I remember I used to make jokes about dying, but for me, it actually really helped. And I've met a lot of people, I don't know if you're the same, like, through going through it, speaking out about it, I've met a lot of people in similar situations. And it's nice when you meet someone that knows exactly how you feel and you actually have these jokes. And I find a lot of people, I really connect with the people that have this really sinister sense of humour about it. Because I just think...
about you then,
yeah, When I was diagnosed, a huge amount of people reached out, including my Sky Sports colleague, football presenter and reporter Emma Saunders. Little did she know, 2 years later, I'd be reaching out to her, following her own shock news.
My diagnosis came in the same breath that I was also told that I was clear. I'd had a few months of just not feeling quite right. I'd been to the doctors a bit, they'd felt my neck, they'd said it could be a bit of tonsillitis. I wasn't really that convinced, and the real kicker was I had a lymph node that was particularly swollen and it wasn't going down. I was then told I had a lump on my thyroid. The scans, the biopsy had shown enough that they said, yeah, we need to operate on that, we need to get it out just to make sure it isn't anything too sinister. And then fast forward to after the operation, I sat down with this doctor who said to me in one swipe, well, you had cancer, but you don't have it anymore. And the whole few months, actually, is a bit of a blur. That moment, I think, will stick with me forever.
How did you feel in that moment?
Everything. I walked out and started crying straight away. All my worries were confirmed, but in the same breath, I had the utter relief that what they were saying was it was behind me at that point. It was a whole roller coaster of emotions to look back on, utter joy, but also despair that at 32, I'd just been told I did have cancer.
I'd prepared myself for the worst. I think you kind of have to. So my treatment plan was 5 weeks of radiotherapy every single day, Monday to Friday, 5 weeks of chemotherapy once a week, every Wednesday, and then 3 days of brachytherapy, which is quite an intrusive form of internal radiotherapy. I actually didn't tell anyone about my diagnosis until I had that treatment plan, because I just wanted to be able to, phone my mum and tell her this is happening, but this is the plan and this is how we're going to get through this.
I called my family together and almost held a meeting and said, right, this is what's happening. I've been having tests for it. It's looking at this stage that it could be cancerous. So erring on the side of caution, we're having this operation. And I remember looking at their faces, actually, and it was like, OK, that's a lot. And there's no wrong or right way to deliver cancer news. I've been on both sides of it. But for me, it was about trying to harness as much control as I could. Unfortunately, when I was younger, my dad passed away. And my memory of it is quite vague, but I remember even as a young person then having a lot of questions, and naturally my parents were trying to protect me from a lot of that. But I suppose I was very worried I was now going to be bringing that all up again.
What was that conversation like with your mum? Take your time.
Well, it was hard because, I think I don't want to put that on anyone. I almost felt, I can cope with this. I just didn't want anyone else to worry about me and stress about me. So it's difficult because I didn't want to put that worry or that stress on anybody else. I didn't want people to worry about me. And I knew my mum and dad would obviously be really upset about it. And I knew that they would feel quite helpless because what can you do? There's literally nothing that they could do to help me in that moment. And as a mum myself, and I know my little girl was very young, but you just know that you just do anything for your children and you don't want your children to have any suffering or anything. And I knew that would just really, I knew how hard they would find that. And I almost think if I could have just done it without telling anyone, that would have been better, just because I just didn't want anyone to worry about me.
The doctors tell you all these things, that there's no guarantee that you are coming out of this. And so you sit there kissing your wife, I'll be fine, kissing your children. Really half of a little percentage in the back of your mind thinks the doc said that I might not wake up from this. But I did wake up. I woke up 4.5 stone lighter. They'd removed the tumour. I remember looking at a mirror across from the door and thinking, who's that? I was, let's say, 4.5 stone lighter. I was grey. The clothes I was, I put a tracksuit bottom on. It was like one of them comedy scenes where somebody pulls their tracksuit out, and there's this much gap, a foot's gap. The day when my children came to see me after that operation and they stood there at the door, almost not recognising their dad, really, and tears in their eyes, not being able to talk. And I knew I had to phone the football club, Birmingham City, which had been amazing to me, and told them that I'm not coming back to Birmingham. I need to get my health first and foremost for my family. And the journey started really on trying to rebuild some strength. And I thought I'd been an athlete all my life, a big, strong man. I was going to cruise through chemotherapy, whatever it was, and yet then I think 3 times I ended up back in hospital through collapsing, actually blacking out, hitting the kitchen floor, banging my head.
It was chemotherapy days were the hardest. I remember the nurse kind of talking me through it, and I just said to her, I said, how is this going to make me feel? And she said, well, everyone reacts differently, so there's no way of knowing. Not knowing, I actually found quite difficult to deal with because, yeah, you're just like, okay, this liquid is going into me and I don't know how it's going to make me feel. I don't know how my body's going to react. But at the same time, this is the thing that's hopefully going to cure me and make me better.
You don't actually know what they're pumping into you. Like, they obviously tell you before and you just trust that they're the professionals and they kind of know what's going on, but you don't actually know if it's working until the 6 months have passed and you've kind of gone through it all.
What were the worst side effects for you?
Well, without being disgusting, I think like even just like a little one, like they said, the anti-sickness that they give you on the treatment kind of makes you constipated, and you kind of think, oh, it's not even like a big deal if that happens, but that was one of the worst pains I've ever had.
And how did you get through it? I mean, sometimes I look back and I just think there was moments where I was on the floor crying, being like, I can't do this, I cannot go to my treatment. Do you look back and think, kind of, how did I do that?
Yeah, I think mentally I was always in quite a good place throughout it. Like, I was never that panicky on what the outcome would be, but well, there was a few times where Flora kind of just had to roll me in the car and kind of take me there, because I just knew obviously how bad you'd feel on the way back. Obviously I am thankful for, but yeah, it wasn't really enjoyable at the time.
The last part of my treatment was, I mean, it was brutal. It was 3 days in hospital, got put to sleep and had 14 metal rods inserted inside me. Then for those 3 days, I had to lie flat on a hospital bed. I couldn't eat. I wasn't allowed to move, just had to lie flat. And I wasn't allowed to see Mabel for those 3 days, for obvious reasons, because she would want to cuddle me and climb on me. And I didn't want her to see me like that anyway. But it was the first time that I'd been apart from her since I'd given birth. And I just remember that was probably the darkest time. I'm lying in this hospital bed. She was the thing that, you know, I said she got me through my treatment, but also, yeah, it was only 3 days, but it was the first 3 days I'd ever spent apart from her. When I was first diagnosed, Mabel was 18 months old. Mabel became my focus. She was the reason I got up every day, despite the sickness and exhaustion. That normality of slipping back into mum mode, however hard it was, kept me going. Because even on the darkest days, she was my reason for everything. Mabel, without knowing it, was my rock. You know, I did say my first question was, am I going to die? And that wasn't because of me. I kind of came to terms with death. And I kind of came to terms with the fact that that could be the reality for me. But what I wasn't okay with was the prospect of leaving her without a mum. Emma's anchor of support came in the form of her now husband, football manager Will Still, who was in charge of Ligue 1 side Lens at the time.
I think my initial reaction was a bit probably scared. Probably the scariest moment was the operation itself. Because, you know, she goes down and she's just Emma and, you know, is totally fine. And she comes back up, 5-6 hours later, and she's got, just a massive, gash in her throat, and you kind of think, oh, I wasn't ready for that. I think the toughest bit was being in a different country and trying to manage a football club at the same time. But whatever the situation was, you always have that part of guilt of being, well, I should be at the football club because that's what I'm paid to do and that's my job. But I should also be on the other side of the channel with them because that's my life.
And you can't really win with it.
And I had secondary guilt of that as well, because I felt bad that I was affecting and impacting his dream, his job. And there were all these people at the club that were relying on you, and I was I was impacting that, even though perhaps it wasn't actually bleeding into results as much. It was just still that feeling that I thought, this isn't how it's supposed to be.
But how much did his support mean to you?
You were completely rock solid throughout the entirety of it. How you were then commuting across to another country and running a football club at the same time, I'll never know. Yeah, you showed up to every appointment, you were there for the surgery, and in hindsight, even just waking up after that surgery, not being able to move, my body had never been through anything like that. I could feel at that point I was really poorly. And yeah, just to have you bedside on a Thursday when you've got a game to prepare, I'll forever be very grateful for that. I think you won that weekend, though. Maybe that's why we can talk about it in these terms.
Do you think it is something that brought you closer?
I almost loved her more because it was like, I want to help and I want to protect her and I want to make sure she's safe and...
Illness like that, it's quite ugly, it's quite scary. And when you go through things like that together, it naturally, I think it was something strangely that you do end up bonding over.
And for anyone watching this that is supporting someone at the moment going through cancer, what advice would you give to them?
Let's be there. Literally stand there and hold their hand or...
It's really true. I think when that's going on, it's so kind of wild and out of your control that all you want is normality. And actually just being there and just being normal. That went so far at the time.
Back in 2021, Henri lost his mother-in-law to cancer, 7 years after his own diagnosis. Henri used his experience to support her at the time.
She was brilliant. She, her whole mentality on it. We would text before she'd go in for chemo and that, and sometimes I'd take her there and I'd just try and have a laugh at her, keep her bubbly. But she was amazing. She'd have chemo, have her alternative medicine as well, and be walking 5 miles a day. And to see someone do that, knowing they're going through chemo, to me was like, you're strong, you're really strong. And it's such a shame she's not here now because she deserves the world. It wells me up thinking about it. But just to see what my missus had to go through in that situation is the hardest bit. But yeah, like I say now, I'm sort of just trying to help everyone. When I talk about myself and the situation, I try and make a laugh out of it. But when I see it happen to someone so close is the hardest bit for me.
You spoke about Bernadette, Tony.
Yes.
She was 26 when she passed away. You were a young footballer at Celtic. What was that experience like for you as a young man, losing your wife to cancer, and how much did that football world kind of help you through it as well?
I went back to Celtic as manager because of what the people did through that period of sitting in a hospital bedroom for 16 hours a day, sitting by her side, trying to hold her hand and watching her disappear, really, waste away. I was up recently seeing Bernadette's dad and still going strong, and I visit the grave and the cemetery, and that will always be part of my life, and it's something that I went through, and it makes you stronger and it makes you understand.
Did it change your perspective on life?
Probably, because, as a young footballer, leaves school, becomes an apprentice, gets a professional contract, gets his debut, plays for all them years in the first team, earning good money, and then all of a sudden, probably the first time in my life, it's like getting hit with a sledgehammer, really. Certain things, walking through the hospital car park, going for her chemotherapy, and she's vomiting on the floor because knowing it's coming, knowing what's coming, and it was a tough time. I'm just trying to put my life, my family's life, trying to give my children and my wife the best if I'm not here, but hopefully I am here, and so yeah, I'm trying my best to be the best at being a father and trying my best to be a good husband.
It must have been triggering for you, suddenly faced with a cancer diagnosis when you've lost your dad.
I think it was the fact that, unfortunately for him, it didn't end well, and that was my main experience of cancer. And he was far too young. He was 58, and you just think, blimey, I'm 32. This was not on my bingo card as a 32-year-old at all. And I think that was frightening because my real up-close experience of this was horrible. And I saw a real dark side of the illness with him. So it was really frightening to be told that you've got the same overarching illness as what you'd witnessed as a child that did end so badly.
On a recent trip home to Perth, I went to visit Adam Webb by the banks of the River Tay. Adam took ownership of the club I've grown up supporting, St Johnstone, in July 2024, and things didn't start the way he'd planned. When 2 months later, he announced he'd been diagnosed with head and neck cancer.
And we had our first game against Brecon in the Cup. I go home, I get the results from the blood test, and it said I had a 78% chance of having head and neck cancer. And I was, of course, it felt great, but my doctor friend who made me do the blood test, he said, go to an ENT right away. He scoped down and immediately saw at the base of my tongue the cancer. And he said, you've got a tumor in the back of your tongue. And then he feels my neck and he feels the lymph nodes were swollen. And he says, and it's spread to your neck. Obviously, they do a biopsy, they confirm things. So it was a very dramatic time. There were good times in there, obviously, with the club, and you've got that hanging over your head. I mean, this cloud, cancer, this word you've heard your whole life. When I started treatment, then it could not be kept a secret. So in September, I just came out with it and told my kids first, and then I told our fan base, because I would have to take a step back for treatments and all that. And the outpouring of love and support is so incredible, because you realize that everybody has been touched by cancer. You and I had very similar routine, because it was chemo weekly on Mondays, and then it was 5 days a week radiation. And, it's so dehumanizing. I'm strapped into a mask, really a grotesque Halloween-type mask, that then they put you down on a table and they put you into the radiation machine, and it's, of course, it's burning your flesh, and very important in my case, it's burning all around my neck and face and, tongue and mouth and teeth. And so you just know that it's damaging you. It's so psychologically, wears you down. But then, and I'm sure you went through the same thing, eventually your body, wears down. And in my case, I had to get on a feeding tube, which is the ultimate when you can't feed or eat or drink anymore, just because your throat is closed down. And so that was my darkest time.
Do you remember how you felt when you got that news that the treatment had worked and there was no evidence of disease?
Yeah, I didn't know how I was going to feel, but it was overwhelming, and I was just kind of broke down. Just the lift, just a weight has been lifted, and you didn't realize how much it was hanging over your head until you heard that news, and it was like, wow. So total joy, and to some extent every day, right? You're still experiencing that. Obviously, it goes down a little bit every day, but to be so appreciative that you were able to overcome it and go back to a normal life.
Do you have a different perspective on life that you did before you were diagnosed?
Unquestionably. No, there's no doubt about it. I mean, it's just the good things are better because you have to appreciate them. And the bad things are not as important. I think it makes the good times extra sweet. And now it's easier. It's easier after cancer to realize what's important.
When the treatment stops, it's difficult because you're suddenly just left there to deal with what's happened. And you kind of feel like the support's been taken away a little bit because you're not going in for treatment. And that recovery is hard because the treatment's stopped, but you still feel ill. I was still very, very tired and trying to deal with the psychological effects as well.
You're here today for an MRI scan.
Yeah.
Have you had these scans before?
I have, yes. A year ago, I would have said it's quite nerve-wracking. It's not a particularly nice experience being in a scanner where, you're in such a closed space. For anyone going through cancer, scans quickly become a very normal part of your life, as does the anxiety around the disease potentially coming back.
I've never really told anyone this apart from a few of the lads, but when we played Brentford and I scored my first goal back, after that game I was just beside myself, because before the game I just felt just off. I didn't really feel very good, and then obviously I come on, scored, but I felt like a bit lightheaded and just kind of not myself. I remember just sat there just thinking, like, I've definitely got it. Like, again, like it's come back. Like, it's kind of waited to this point of for me to get back playing, and then it's all gonna happen again.
I don't know, I find some people think you've had cancer, you've had the treatment, you're better. And
yeah, it doesn't really work like that.
But it doesn't work like that. Like, I think I probably think about it every single day in some form. And like you, I woke up with a really sore back a while ago, and with the type of cancer I had, one of the biggest symptoms for a recurrence is a sore back. So I was just like, that's it, it's back. Like,
but you don't even think, oh, I might have it. Like, it's in your head, you've got it, and it's kind of, I need to call someone right now, I need to check on it.
It's actually quite a hard thing to get your head around, that you now just have to wait and hope that it's worked. I still didn't really want to see people because I'd lost a lot of weight and I just felt like I didn't look particularly healthy. And I also didn't know whether it worked or not. I wasn't really ready to have those conversations with people.
All I wanted to do was sleep in a dark room, and they kept badgering me to get up.
Yeah.
Get up. That scar, which is from here, right at my chest, right down into my pelvis, is you need to keep working it. It needs to heal. It looks like it's just where my abdomen's like really impressive, but it's really a big scar down the middle. I lived with padded underwear for like a year because I had zero control of my bowel. Yeah. And I remember how embarrassing, it's dehumanising, really, sleeping on the bathroom floor, because my stoma bag, when I thought, oh, that's great, I'm getting rid of this horrible stoma bag that need emptying every day, but I had no control. It was, so I've been, every day for the last maybe 6 months, 8 months, I do planks every single morning. I try and strengthen my core. And if one day somebody says, your cancer's come back, sorry, Tony, blah, blah, blah. And then we attack that and decide what's right or wrong to do about that. And I want to try and live every day and give myself the very best chance to enjoy life. It's we're only getting one shot at it, so I'm trying to do it as best I can.
Being told I was cancer-free felt incredible. You can't even describe the feeling when you hear those words that the treatment has worked, because obviously it's all that you've hoped for, all that you've wished for. And just to know that you've got through what is the hardest thing that I've ever had to deal with. I've got through it, and I'm cancer-free, and I'm alive, and life is good.
The first time the doctor says your body is free of cancer is like a, wow, that was amazing. In fact, I remember actually, because I knew there was a potential job in the offering for me, I'd asked my doctor can he get the scan results on the day of the scan, and he did that for me. Strangely enough, the radiologist who read the scans was actually the son of a very famous footballer, and he told the doctor everything was clear, and I was actually on the way home from Manchester driving my car when he phoned me and said, everything's clear. Your body is totally free of cancer.
And just got the news over the phone. They were like, oh, you've kind of got the all clear. Yeah, you can basically go about living your life again. We just want to check up every 3 months. So I'm just coming downstairs and just having some good news to tell when everyone thought it was going to be in the afternoon. So it was, like I say, it was a little bit anticlimactic.
And that's probably because you've gone through something that's so horrendous that you kind of think, it's definitely worth celebrating the fact that you've got the all clear, but it's perhaps not because it's a horrible thing to have gone through. I don't know. It's just, I find it really interesting that you said that.
No, it's, yeah, like I say, it was a bit of a kind of a weird just day all round, really, but a happy one, and you get to celebrate after.
I'm now 2.5 years cancer-free, but I don't know if you're ever cancer-free, really, because it is something that I still think about every day. I think as the days go on, you think about it less and less, but it is still something that I think about every day. I am living with side effects as well, which you have to deal with. You know, I'm 40 years old, but it's kind of aged me. So, you know, I was plunged into early menopause. I'm infertile, so I was told that my treatment would mean that I couldn't have any more children. Even psychologically, it's difficult. So it is something that I don't think ever leaves you.
When I actually flash back to being in the bed immediately after and think now what life is now, yeah, I wish I'd had that to show myself, because in the moment it can feel a bit hopeless, and you're so clouded with worry. But yeah, it's still there, and it's always going to be a part of me. But that's all it is now, hopefully. It's just a strand of my life that hopefully in years to come, it still will just remain a strand, something that I went through in my early 30s that I was able to learn a lot from and gain strength from. So yeah, life's good.
I'm crying, but it's only because I just felt so happy for Mabel. And, you know, I just thought, you almost start to picture your little girl's life. And I'd remember having thoughts about not seeing her start school or, yeah, I just thought, you know, yeah. Mabel, you've got a mum. It's, yeah, yeah. I've always been very sporty, so that kind of competitive spirit, I guess, comes out in anything that I do. And I think that helped me a lot when I was going through my treatment, just in terms of being able to deal with it. You know, that sporting background, that resilience, I guess, as well, plays a part that you've learnt through playing sport my whole life. And then also just the wider football family, being involved in sports media and the support that I got from that footballing world just meant absolutely everything to me. One of your first big appearances was in a reserve match, actually, where you scored a hat-trick.
I think that was the world's worst hat-trick, but I'll take it.
It was still a hat-trick.
Yeah.
How did that feel?
Yeah, it was, like I say, I knew that wasn't really the end goal, so I'm not going to sit here and say I was over the moon with it and I was buzzing with the hat-trick, but it was just nice to kind of be out there. I didn't actually feel like I played that well. It was just kind of, I know it was the 23s and I knew that wasn't really the end goal.
Well, here is a big moment for Bournemouth and for David Brooks, who announced he was cancer-free in May 2022. This is his first appearance since September 2021. What a reaction from the Bournemouth fans and everyone inside this stadium, the Aston Villa fans as well, with a big round of applause. And it's brilliant to see David Brooks back on the pitch.
Do you remember that feeling? I mean, that must have been really emotional.
Yeah, to me, it wasn't really that emotional. Like, I think the emotion kind of kicked in a little bit after the Villa game, because that was my first game back, and I didn't actually I knew the crowd were kind of clapping and things like that, but I didn't really get it until I seen the clips of it after that people had showed us and things. But yeah, I think that was more for my family that was sitting in the crowd. I just wanted to get back on the pitch and kind of create something or score a goal, which didn't manage doing. So I was a little bit fuming coming off the pitch, but I had to kind of remind myself that obviously I'd been out for 18 months, so I wasn't raring to go in terms of I wanted to get on and score an hat-trick, but telling myself I need to give myself a little bit of time. But yeah, it was just amazing to be back on the pitch, and then obviously to see how everyone kind of reacted afterwards was nice.
How much of a motivation was getting back to playing football and playing at a high level?
I think that was my biggest thing, that took my mind off it. I had the summer to recover, and then I was back pre-season with the boys, and it was like, right, let me really kick on, because I didn't want to think about it anymore. And I'd love to say, like I said, I didn't want people to feel sorry for me, so I had to bring myself back to a level to prove myself that this isn't going to stop me.
And the support from your family, your friends, but also there was this support from this footballing world of people that you'd never met in your life, like the supporters of the team that Will was managing.
Yeah.
Did you feel that at the time?
Yes, I did actually. It was incredible. It was so touching. I've never experienced anything like it. Utter strangers turning up to matches with these banners, like wishing us luck and courage. And yeah, it was a real one of those moments that you see what an amazing side of humanity there is. Because let's be honest, at football matches you don't always see it, do you? It's people booing, swearing. I thought, wow, that was, yeah, it was something that will stay with me forever.
The outpouring of support that I got from across the footballing world, across the sporting world, you know, people that I have never met, that I've never spoken to. And I remember that the day I came back and I posted something on social media about being back on screen, and just, yeah, the amount of messages of people just genuinely so happy and pleased to see me kind of come out the other side. Life is good, life is happy, life's about enjoying the little moments and spending time with people that you love and doing things that you love and make you happy.
Whatever happens, happens. Whatever I want to do, I will do. Whatever the family want to do, we'll just do it. It's like there's no... what you waiting? Like, I don't waste a day.
There's no massive reveals, but it was just, you've got to just be happy, make people happy, do things that make you happy, spend time with people that make you happy, and it's kind of as basic as that.
It is. It's so simple. The main thing is you just being happy in yourself. If you project happiness, you'll attract that attention and vibe around you, which is what I try to do.
Do you worry about it coming back at all?
No.
It is very cheesy to kind of say, yeah, it does change you as a person, but it does. I think the ambitions of me and everything I want to achieve in football has not changed. Like, I still want to do everything and achieve everything that I set out to 15 years ago when I was at Man City's academy. Like, that's not changed. But I think when you actually put it in perspective, football, it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, and you have to kind of tell yourself that from time to time when you've got other stuff going on in your life. So yeah, like I say, the drive's still there to kind of achieve everything, but it does change your outlook on certain things. There will be a bit of anxiety and a bit of fear around life after cancer, but if you obviously pull through it, then you've still got the rest of your life to kind of enjoy, and you will go back to normal as long as it might take a few weeks or a few months to kind of get back into it. But yeah, there's a lot of life to live.
I think it changes you, absolutely. You can't go through something like this and not be changed. It just puts everything into perspective. None of us know how much longer we've got on this earth. So it's just really about enjoying every day. 2 years after I first met David, he invited me and my daughter Mabel to watch him play for Bournemouth against Manchester City, the team where he started his career. In those 2 years, he's signed a new contract, got married, had a baby, and is living life to the full.
Yeah, it's been a good 2 years. I think, obviously after the illness and stuff like that, it was kind of, you just do things that kind of make you happy, and football, and to start a family with my wife Flora, it's something that we've been wanting to do for a few years now, and obviously didn't know if we'd be able to and stuff. So I'm thoroughly enjoying the short period I've had in fatherhood as well.
Do you feel like you're in the form of your life?
I have said it a few times, it's extremely difficult to make it once in the Premier League, and I felt like I kind of had to do it twice. In that time frame, there was no doubt in my mind that I wanted to attempt it, and that I thought I had the capabilities to do it. So there was never like any doubt while I was going through it. Just kind of never give up, and that attitude, I think, to want to be the best version of myself and to chase playing football, enjoying it for what it is, and you actually look at kind of what I've achieved and how full circle it's kind of gone, and to get the opportunity to walk out at a stadium like this in the Premier League, especially as captain, it's a massive honour.
Other people will look at you too and go, David Brooks, what an example of there being life after cancer and that life can be pretty good. How does that make you feel when I put it like that?
To be a little bit of an example and a bit of a shining light to others that want to progress after their illness, I think is obviously a very proud thing for me to stand here and be able to say that I inspire people, and it's always nice to hear the nice stuff that they kind of looked up and seen my journey and thought it was inspirational for them to go and enjoy their lives after as well.
So overall, if you just did have a message for people watching this, would it be that there is life after cancer and that life can be pretty good after cancer?
Oh, 100%. I think it kind of gives you a different perspective on life, and just to go and enjoy everything, just do everything you want to do and want to achieve, and just enjoy life. I think football didn't really matter to me while it was going on, but then after, obviously the love of the game kind of drew me back in, and that's all I wanted to do. And I'd say just go kind of chase your dreams and enjoy life the most you can.
So many people are affected by cancer, whether directly or indirectly. And I think talking about it, having these conversations, just putting it out there so that people don't feel alone, but also to show that there's a side of cancer that is a positive one, that you can get through it, that people will help you get through it, and that there is life after cancer. If you or someone you know has been affected by cancer, you are not alone. For support and information, please visit cancerresearchuk.org macmillan.org.uk or the NHS website.